So I've just got to Garn Boduan. There's a great tree-lined path that I'm just following up into the woodland. I've just got a taxi here from Pwllheli. The bloke who I was in a taxi with thought I was mental. Maybe this is a bit mental, but let's go have a look.
You can find relics of the past scattered all over this region of North Wales, bounded by the Irish Sea to the west, the steep mountains of Snowdonia to the east. In this tiny area alone, you can find Neolithic stone circles, Bronze Age hill forts, ancient burial mounds, and early medieval settlements. Before roads, the sea was a highway, and this land, far from the peripheral countryside area it is today, lay at the very centre of trade routes and highways, a crossroads of kingdoms, competing warlords and holy men. This place was very well connected until its decline in the last few centuries.
I'm here in an extremely ancient place. So we've got Neolithic houses, we've got an Iron Age settlement, and up at the top of the hill, up there, we've got an early medieval citadel, long associated with an old Welsh hero, Boduan, who is said to have lived in this area. And when you look around, incredible panoramic views all over, you can see why people lived here. This place is literally covered in ancient Neolithic houses, all the way from the Stone Age up to the Bronze Age, up to the Iron Age. There's one over there, there's one, there's one. There's 170 of them littering this promontory on top of this mound. Just watching out for some snakes. So something that really adds to the eerie atmosphere of this place. Around 25 years ago, there was a big fire and it destroyed a lot of the trees over here, making it look desolate. Definitely adding to the atmosphere of this place. Getting further up, there's panoramic views. This is incredible. You can see all the way out to the sea. Now, experts think that this place may have been built in part to fend off Irish pirates who'd come here across the sea. Maybe. And that was a rabbit. Right, let's get up there.
For close to 500 years, during the Roman occupation of Britain and after, we find little evidence of occupation on this site. But when Rome fell, just like at similar hill forts all over Britain, regional power became important once more, as local people looked to local leaders for protection. Garn Boduan was no exception. And certainly by the 7th century, if not earlier, the princes of Gwynedd, the foremost power of early medieval North Wales, seem to have made this place a base of operations, primarily fending off against Irishmen from the sea. Though it is worth noting that the garrison may have in fact been made up of descendants of Irishmen, for in the years following the Roman withdrawal from Britain, just as Anglo-Saxons moved in from the east and Picts moved down from the north, evidence suggests that Irish raiders crossed over the sea to take up residences on Britain's western seaboard, going on to have a huge influence on the region for hundreds of years to come, well into the 11th and 12th centuries.
So here we go, I'm up at the top of the citadel. You can see for miles and miles around. You can see the entire Flynn Peninsula. Incredible, incredible views. Look at that. So when I heard that this place guarded the Flynn Peninsula against the Irish Sea, I didn't quite Consider that you'd literally be able to see the sea in all directions. There's nowhere that you can't see. Anyone coming in, unless they travelled at night, which is very dangerous, you'd see them from this place.
During those centuries when the kings of Gwynedd, or perhaps warlords under their control, exerted influence here, just the very tip of the citadel seems to have been occupied. Probably a purely military settlement. A truly commanding position for an early medieval warlord. To contemplate this place in its prime, we have to go back to pre-Roman times. Perhaps with some level of continuity dating all the way back to the Stone Age.
So a long time ago, this was the gate. People would come all the way down there, harassed all the way if they were attacking. Eventually they'd make their way all the way up here. Of course, no one did conquer this. It'd be impossible for a Celtic army to take one of these hill forts. What they did do was fight an open battle, open field battles. It was the Romans that finally conquered places like this. They could either starve people out, and they could use siege weaponry to just destroy the defenders. The Celts had no answer for that.
From Maiden Castle in the south to Stannick Walls in the north, two huge fortified sites, none of the mighty fortresses of the Britons ever really stood a chance. Archaeologists still debate whether sieges of these sites even needed to be carried out by the Romans, with scant evidence available, or whether small shows of power were enough to force British leaders to surrender, lest they succumb to the full might of the Roman war machine. As word spread of the unstoppable Roman army, sweeping aside all resistance in neighbouring tribes, this site, remote as it was, may have surrendered without a fight. With very little evidence of a siege available, the jury is still out. It's important to note, however, that the people who lived here fought for their independence against Rome. The great British hero Caratacus came to Wales in the years after the initial Roman invasion, raising a great guerrilla resistance of Ordovices and Silures from southern Wales against Rome. Again, in the 70s AD, the Ordovices rebelled against Roman rule, massacring a cavalry detachment occupying their lands. According to the Roman historian Tacitus, it was the famed general Agricola who finally subjugated this region, launching into a vicious genocide of its population, according to him, wiping them out to a man. We'll never know the full extent of Roman influence here, but due to the mountainous terrain and the lack of evidence for Roman occupation here, it seems very unlikely that the people here all died out. Perhaps some of those who live here today are descended from those Ordovices.
So I'm here on top of the citadel, really happy to have made it up. Incredible views all around. Absolutely stunning. So this place was ruled by the kings of Gwynedd. And when they ruled this place, they could look out to the Irish Sea over there, all the way down their land on the Flint Peninsula over there, all the way back to their heartlands over there. That's Snowdonia. There's Anglesey. Over there would have been another hill fort, manned certainly in the Iron Age when the Ordovices lived here, and possibly by early medieval people too. But the evidence is so scant from that period that barely scratched the surface of who actually lived here. iron degrades so much more than bronze and is barely found in the record. That's why we find so many Bronze Age sites and so little from the early medieval times. All the way over there is the holy island of Bardsey. Pilgrims from time immemorial travelled over there. Now I'm going to eat a nice sandwich.
Having the entire place to myself, despite it being the height of summer, I ate a nice sandwich on the hill fort. Tuna mayo. Nice. Before beginning my descent, this time filled with confidence, I went down the opposite side of the mound. Endless scenery opening up before me. Just a couple of miles to the small town of Nevin, from where I could get a lift back to Pwllheli, and from there a train to Barmouth and my accommodation for the evening. Easy, I thought, until the path before me simply disappeared, overtaken by spider swarms and impassable hedges. It had been a long time since anyone walked this way. No bother, a detour taken directly through the fields it was, before being greeted by a nice Welsh family who pointed me in the right direction to get home. What a fantastic day out. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know in the comments what historical sites you'd like to see me visit next. You've been watching History Time on Tour, and I'll see you on the next one.